idea is that when you come to Christ, it has to be all about him. Who's on the throne this morning? Who's the king of your life this morning? Are your questions and your answers all starting and ending with you? Because the world is offering up these alternatives to a full, true relationship with Christ. The story of Christ is to provide to us a Christ-centered worldview. And what this gentleman is putting forth in his argument is that people are going to worship, people are going to serve something, anything, everything. And our question this morning is, who are you serving? Who are you worshiping? And are we worshiping him in full and in truth? You have a Christ-centered worldview. Do you see the world? Do you speak through the truth and the reality of Christ? Or are we living through our own perspective? If I was to put this message in a sentence this morning, it would be that a Christ-centered life must be rooted in a Christ-centered view. My fear is that we, in the church, are missing Christ while we're talking about Christ.
Listen.
My fear is that there's gaps in our relationship with him, and we're filling in those gaps with workism, and with our childrenism, and with our spouseism, and all kind of other isms that are falling in, that are coming in, filling in the gaps. And the question this morning is, are we truly, totally leaning on Christ? Or are our opinions more powerful than the truth of Scripture? Are our tastes and our wants and our desires from inside of ourselves stronger than the reality of who Christ is? And my fear this morning is that when we're talking about the things of Christ, we are yet missing him. And what we see this morning in this passage we're going to look at in a second is that the crowd of Mark 15, this group that we're going to talk about here in Mark 15, is just a bigger picture of the larger issue that's going on, and it's called a people problem. Last week we talked about Peter and his issues, his challenges, and seeing himself and denying the reality of who Christ is. This week we want to look at a broader picture of a people problem. And the people problem is seen in that when people come into contact with Christ, they've known Christ, they've experienced Christ, they're familiar with the miracles, they know of the teaching, they've heard, they've seen all that he is and all that he's done, but yet they're missing him. You say, well, where do you see that? Turn your Bibles with me in these first 5 verses of Mark chapter 15. It says, as soon as it was morning, the chief priests held a consultation with the elders and scribes and the whole council, and they bound Jesus and led him away and delivered him over to Pilate. And Pilate asked him, are you the king of the Jews? And he answered him, you have said so. And the chief priests made an accusation of many things against him. And Pilate again asked him, have you no answer to make? See how many charges they have against you? But Jesus made no further answer, so that Pilate was amazed. Pilate was amazed. The problem here is that the people see themselves even when they're in the very presence of Christ himself. They're right there with Christ. They're experiencing Christ. They're days, they're moments from the cross, leading up to the cross, and yet in that moment, instead of seeing the reality of Christ, they see themselves.